Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and this evening I am delighted to be joined by Anthony Haggerty. It's half-time. This is the first competitive domestic match played under Ange Postecoglou. At the age of Ange, we've got the new signing in there, Carol Starfelt, Abada. We have Nyogo on the bench. Ange is starting to put his stamp on the team. But Tony, a pretty poor first half. It's got to be said.
There's a star man. Yeah, a disaster man.
The first test.
Yeah, and he's found wanting. I'm not blaming him per se, but even after that, he compounds it by sliding and going to ground. His boys just try to turn him, and the ball ends up beating him. Ends up making a sliding challenge ball ricocheting off him to Gary Mackay-Steven. It was just a comedy of errors. And defending like the Keystone Cops in the first Hearts attack of the game.
Tony, Gary Mackay-Steven, right? Let's make a point here. The other night, our so-called biggest asset, the star striker, Edouard, was in the back pocket of a defender who was probably fourth choice by the time he left Celtic. Gary Mackay-Steven was nowhere at Celtic, absolutely nowhere in terms of getting a game in the first team. Yet these players, several seasons later, are coming back to haunt us because we're so poor. You look at that. One thing I did say before the game was that we had no right back cover. I was forgetting, of course, that Welsh can play right back and has played right back. Went on loan to Morton as well, Tony. So I'm sure that would have been in Angie's thoughts when he was lining up the subs. Talking of which, though, Tony, I mean, I'm looking at some of the options on the bench. I'm looking at some of the performances on the park. It's not working despite all the possession. 25 minutes in, we're 75% possession. Oh, that's all great. Right after that, we started losing possession far too regularly as well, Tony.
Toothless. Absolutely toothless. We've not created a chance to speak of, have we? I'm struggling.
Long range efforts. Turnbull, Sorrow, McGregor.
Sorrow, yeah, but not a clear-cut chance. And the passing in the final third is absolutely abysmal. It's shocking. Mm-hmm. You get all the possession you want. Hearts are quite happy to give you the possession, but shut you down in areas that matter. And also as well, why do players continually fall on the ground? Well, why do they not get the correct footwear? Too many players are going to ground.
That's basics. It's really amateurish. Yeah.
Get the correct footwear. I mean, Sorrell twice in his attempt to rescue the ball fell, just slipped and fell. In the space of 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. That you just see the amateurish. But you can have all the possession you want. It's and I would be heartened if they were zipping it around and they were creating chances and the goalkeeper was keeping them in the game where they'd hit the post and hit the bar. But I'm not seeing any of that.
Craig Gordon's mopped up. I mean, we're talking about Gary Mackay-Steven and Sviatchenko. Let's not forget, Craig Gordon was nowhere near the first pick as a goalie by the time he left Celtic. There's been a wee bit of revisionism about the Craig Gordon thing, because he got back into the Scotland squad. He was nowhere near the first team by the time he had left, Tony, as well. It's just that obviously we shot ourselves in the foot when it came to the Forster deal, and then we've had a dreadful time of it with goalkeepers since then. So I understand why people look back and the what-ifs and all that. But he's shored up anything we've thrown at him tonight. He's punching balls out pretty comfortably, absolutely no danger whatsoever.
They've not put him under any real pressure, have they? That's the whole point. As you say, he's dealing with anything that's flung at him because it's coming from long range or it's crossed in. And as much as I praised Anthony Ralston for his performance the other night, he's crossing into the box tonight. It's been diabolical. His distribution's not been great either, but he's not alone in having a poor game. Turnbull seems to be off it as well.
Well, I was just about to actually bring up Brian McLean's point, Tony, just when you mentioned that. So I think a lot of people are thinking the same, what's going on there? Because, when he came into the team, the Celtic fans were looking and asking the question, why has he not been in all season? He was a late addition. I know he'd had a few games. He started against St Johnstone up at McDermott, didn't have a great game that day. Celtic were poor until the substitution of Griffiths, and Klimala, I think, came on and scored. But he came in last season, ended up winning Young Player of the Year. He was a fantastic addition to the squad. I've not really seen it this season. Tony, is he just getting up to speed? Is it just going to take him a few games, or has his style actually changed that much? Really, that would be the reason why Turnbull doesn't seem to be performing.
Whatever style Ange's playing, I think there's a lot of players that are still getting to grips with it or trying to get speed with it. You know, I'm not too sure I'm fathoming it out myself at this minute. It seems very disjointed, let's put it that way. And certain players I think there's a few players that maybe don't know their role in this new style, and it's worrying because, they've dominated possession, but they've created nothing, absolutely nothing.
That is the concern, Tony, because what we do is we resort to the long distance efforts. Now we've got a few players in there, Turnbull, Kalmack and Sorrell, who can strike a ball from distance, but you can't rely on that. No. You simply cannot rely on that because it shows your lack of creativity and ideas and trying to break down a side who, someone in the comments said that we look like the team that's just been promoted. They're equipped. They're equipping themselves really well. And there's a lot of guys in that team that are just, experienced pros. You know what I mean, Tony? And there's not a great deal of flair. They're relying on players like, as I say, Gary Mackay-Steven, who, he left Celtic as a bit part player. Bit of a flop.
I thought you were talking about Celtic. There's a lot of experienced pros, but not a lot of flair.
Well, listen, when you look at that defence, Tony, you and I have made sure that we're not jumping on the bandwagon of having a go at the fullbacks in particular because, they've been thrown together here. But that first half, I think, shows up the deficiencies. Ralston gone down the right, the amount of times he's lost the ball. If you're Ange Postecoglou, you're looking at that. Who we got on the bench? Okay, you're not going to bring Barkas on, but mind you, he does say he likes playing left back. Nayogo, Ayeti, Christie, Rogic, Montgomery, and Welsh. Is there anybody you would change this early on? We spoke earlier about Edouard, again, not at the races tonight, is he?
I'd bring on Kyogo for the second half.
Mm-hmm.
For Edouard. And I'd maybe possibly think about bringing on Welsh in place of Ralston, if he can play right back, because Ralston's distribution has been poor. He's lost the ball a few times, and there's no point in getting into those positions. It was the Frimpong thing for me. Remember, I used to say, work in your delivery.
Yeah.
You can sprint down that wing all you want. See if your end product's not there, then it's no use, because then you're hopelessly out of position. A couple of times Hearts have broken forward. And I think Starfelt careered into Boyce, didn't he? Because of that, they lost the ball in a critical position, and Starfelt know where to go, and Boyce clattered into him, and a bit clumsy. And I get that Starfelt's just coming into the side, but I expected him to win that tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Go through the ball, go through the man, just win the ball.
Starfelt's had plenty of the ball, isn't he, Tony? The way we play, the centre halves get loads of possession. They get a lot of the ball. And you're watching that 7 minutes into his debut. And, we don't like to blame individuals, but he's definitely partly to blame for the breakdown. And then the poor showing up after losing possession, because there's 2 or 3 bites at the cherry. We lose it time after time after time. Then you're looking at the position of the Hearts players invading that area, and Tony Ralston's at the back post with 3 or 4 Hearts bodies around about him, and then as long as they can pick out a man, it's a goal. You're looking at that defence, and I just don't think we're anywhere near the level now. It's all right saying that you can bring in a right back, you can bring in a left back, Tony. By that time, where are we going to be? Because we're basically shipping goals willy-nilly here. Yeah. That is the most experienced defence we can possibly play, and it's still not good enough. I mean, there is absolutely no composure there as a defensive unit. They've never played together, and it looks like it.
There's no cohesion.
No.
And there's a wee bit of panic every time, because they're also targeting Taylor with a high ball out, even though he's playing in this inverted way, but they're targeting him. There's a couple of high balls being flung over his way, and it's a no contest when it goes in there with Greg Taylor. So he's getting caught with that. Starfelt's having to come over as well, try and deal with that too. So, but yeah, you're right. There is no cohesion with the back four, and I get they have been flung together, but I spoke at the start and said that was as tight as a drum, and it lasted 7 minutes. 7 minutes it lasted, and it was just typical of the kind of goal we lost last season, and the same mistakes are being repeated time and time again.
Tony, somebody in the comments always, when I'm looking at these comments coming in, and we hark back to back in the day, and someone says this is the worst team I've seen since the Liam Brady days. I actually think Starfelt moves about the pitch like Tony Mowbray did. Remember, we signed him for Middlesbrough, £1 million. Remember in his debut, he hit the bar against Aberdeen. I'm looking at that side. I'm reluctant to put too much of the blame on Starfelt. We've been crying out for him coming in. The same thing happened last season, Tony. This is a problem. We've been crying out for a centre half last season. We bring in Duffy. We're raving about him on ACSOM, and we know what happened there. So you're looking at this, you think, come on, we don't want to see history repeating itself.
Yeah, of course, and and it's all right saying, got possession, will create chances, that the goals will come. Does this look like a team that's confident enough to go on and score 2 or 3 in the second half?
Well, there's a good question. Tony, because I said before the game, into the second half of extra time against Midtjylland, I had no confidence that Celtic were going to come back into the game. Are you getting that feeling here? I know we've had all the possession and we look, as though we're in control of the game, but we're 1 down. I mean, do you honestly think we can go out there and score a couple of goals in the second half? And even if we do, can you trust the defence to get a clean sheet in the second half?
Ship another one, exactly. I mean, okay, you asked me there, and the first thing you're going to say, where are the goals coming from? Unless you get some kind of spark to ignite, because Abada and Forrest are flitting in and out, but not doing enough, creatively, and from the wide areas. Edouard, again, been posted missing, really, hasn't he? A couple of slack passes as well, which gave possession away and put his teammates under pressure. So I think we have to see what Furuhashi's got. I would say to him, look, I know you maybe didn't expect it, but give me 45. We need a creative spark here, because
we do need creativity up there.
Or maybe Christie for Turnbull, because Turnbull's just not at it at the minute, so they need something. They need a G up, and they need something different. They need to approach it from a different perspective, and maybe approach it with different personnel. And again, maybe Welsh for Ralston to give you a better outlet going down the right, because we're seeing a lot of ball down that right-hand side, but we're not being productive with it.
He's lost the ball. I counted 3 or 4 occasions that were quite evident where he's lost the ball down that right-hand side, Tony. I mean, the other day there on our daily Scottish football show, The State of Scottish Football, the guys were talking about, the what-if scenario of Hibs and Aberdeen actually dividing Celtic and Rangers at the top in the top 3 Scottish football. There was a bit of ridicule around about that, Tony, but, there are some people who are now saying it. I don't want to panic. I don't want to be over dramatic, but we're sitting here, and it's not the case of going behind. I mean, I've seen Celtic teams going behind, and I have a belief that we've got enough to bring this back. 45 minutes at Tynecastle, you would hope you've got enough to bring it back. I just don't have the confidence. I don't have the confidence in that team. Now, the Edouard scenario is a strange one for me, because I think there are a few elements. They were talking there in the commentary about his head not being 100% in it. I think that's right. Now, so often what can happen is players, I believe, that they're so good they can still get through the game. They can still score 20-odd goals like he did last season. There's a combination of his head not being in it and him also being sussed out, Tony. They've played him easy tonight. They played him easy last Wednesday, Midtjylland. So there is a combination there. I think people have sussed him out. And he doesn't have an out ball either, because he's up there on his own.
And I know, and Eddie's best striking days were when he's always played with another one and a partner up front. So I feel for him in that sense. But I touched on at the start of the programme, maybe he isn't as good as we think he is, and he's certainly not as good as Edouard thinks he is. But you cut him really slack, then he maybe needs a partner, and maybe see if that works better. But that's the thing there. Your blind faith and optimism tells you, we'll win 2-1 or 3-1, but you're not saying that with any real conviction or confidence, because you are genuinely struggling to see where the chances are coming from, where the creativity is coming from, and then ultimately where the goals are coming from. You said it might take a long-range effort to get us back in this game, because there's nothing happening in the opposition penalty area. That's what frightens me. And you have two wingers on the park.
We're relying on long-range efforts or set pieces. And we're going back to the action. By the way, got to thank everybody for tuning in. We could probably speak for a bit longer, Tony, because there was about 2,000 watching live on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. But let's get back to the action, Tony Haggerty, and we'll join you again at full time on A Celtic State of Mind.